Hey Alex, this is Mrs. Skoglund. Just wanted to give you a little bit of feedback on your summer assignment. And so I'm mostly going to be talking through just your first paragraph here. I'll kind of reference some other paragraphs as we're talking, but wanted to focus in on one for the purposes of this video. So you chose the question that basically the difference between R and L-directed thinking. And so the first thing I always look at is your topic sentence. And what we want our topic sentence to really do is sort of answer this question in a concise way. And so I thought you sort of got there, like you were like, they're very different, but, need each other. But I think you could have maybe given me a little bit more on like what the difference is. So again, we don't want to be too long, but do try to answer the question in that first sentence. I also noticed that your concluding sentence, and I looked a couple different places in different paragraphs for this, a lot of times they just weren't there, or they weren't very clear that it was the concluding sentence. So make sure we don't just want to abruptly like end the paragraph right after this quote. You want to almost have sort of a repetition of your topic sentence, obviously rephrased, but kind of tying the paragraph and everything back together. So just don't forget that. The next thing I looked at was evidence, and I thought, Alex, you did a really nice job embedding your evidence. So you are doing here what we call a flow quote, where the quote just kind of flows right in with your writing. Same thing down here, and you actually started the sentence with the quote, which is interesting, but it worked. So well done there. I do think, however, you maybe could have selected better evidence. So for example, like this piece was all right up here talking about R-directed, but then down here when you were like, the two sides carry out complementary functions, keep in mind the question is what's the difference? And so I'm not really sure that piece of evidence really helped you out in answering that question. So try to really select evidence that's going to help you with that. And again, I think actually that sort of impacted the next thing we'll talk about, which is commentary. A lot of times I noticed your commentary was very brief, like you would start to tie the evidence back to the question, but I think part of the problem was because you didn't pick great evidence a lot of times to begin with, the commentary was just kind of like brief. It didn't really fully tie back to that question. So we can work on expanding that too. Other than that, in-text citations look good, and then I liked your R-directed activities as well. I thought it was interesting that you interviewed your mom and how she talked about how actually in her field, even though it is something that the literal task could be with computers, she doesn't believe that that's going to happen because there are still some human thinking, I think you said, or R-directed skills that are needed. So I thought that was interesting. I hope you enjoyed kind of talking to her about that. Anyway, just wanted to give you a little bit of feedback on your summer assignment.